What's up, everyone, and welcome to episode 14 of Some Kind of Podcast. This is a podcast where we entertain you by discussing what entertains us. I am your host today, Christian, and I'm here with my co-host, Tim.
What's up, every button?
Yeah, and Cody.
Hey guys.
I had some struggles getting my crap together for this episode, so
No, I'm specifically talking to all the buttons listening.
yeah, there were some mispronunciations and some not great things going.
We have a
Anyway,
lot of buttons that are listening to this.
Gosh, just
so last week was our Monster Mash episode. We talked about everything from Monster Hunter Rise to Godzilla versus Kong, which is now live on YouTube and podcast services around the world. If that sounds entertaining to you, make sure you go back and give it a listen. This week, however, we will be talking about a few hot topics in the entertainment industry, including the latest episode of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and diving into the discussion of the new game Outriders. But we'll be talking about more of that towards the end of the episode. Still struggling a little bit here.
Okay.
Guys,
good,
I'm going to
bud.
let you start talking while I try to figure my life out. What you been playing and watching?
You want to go first, Cody? Go for it.
yeah, man. I recently got back into Final Fantasy 14, so I've been time sinking into that.
That makes two of us. Although I think you are going a little bit harder than me currently.
No, I mean, if
You started with the relic weapon, dude. You jumped right back on in.
Yeah,
2
but
feet.
It wasn't that
Cannonball.
difficult. It wasn't that difficult. Anyway,
That's that's the point I'm making.
it wasn't that difficult. Anyway, I'm dipping my toe back into the game, and
2,000 plus hours. So I'm saying.
yeah, well, as I've discovered recently, most of that is me taking a nap halfway through doing something and just leaving it on and running. So
That's fair.
there's a lot of nap hours in there.
I mean, that's the same thing with me with my like 17 plus. So
and then I've been watching a lot of Critical Role. That's pretty much it.
Cool.
Let's see here. I have also been getting into Final Fantasy 14, as I just said. I resubscribed. I've also been playing very casually Assassin's Creed Odyssey, because after you've been talking about Immortals Riders of Phoenix, I was like, maybe I should check out the other coin when it comes to the Greek mythology. And I really want to say Bethesda. Ubisoft, thank you.
Yep.
So I've been checking that out. And then I have been watching a lot. I mean, I've never hit it. I'm a big fan of the Graps, the wrestling. And this week is WrestleMania. So
nice.
I've been watching 2 nights of NXT TakeOver on Wednesday and Thursday. And then last night, at the time of recording, last night was night 1 of WrestleMania. And tonight is night 2, if they have it, because it's storming in Tampa right now. And it's outside. So
Interesting. Yeah. So I watched WrestleMania only a couple years, I think like 2 or 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
And all those times it was like in a big, event center. And it was, I think, most of the time indoors. Maybe not.
They were usually indoors, but they got so popular they needed to do it in like stadiums and stuff like that, like actual like they did it in the Superdome in New Orleans, which is covered obviously because it's a dome, but this one is in Raymond James Stadium, which is where the Super Bowl happened this year.
Did they do it in the Dimmadome?
No.
Owned by Doug Dimmadome?
No, they're doing it at Raymond James Stadium, owned by I guess Raymond James. I don't know.
So has WrestleMania become so big that they need to take up 2 nights, or was there a different reason for that?
Well, they did it for COVID.
Okay.
Just to not have people around each other because WrestleMania has gotten so long. It's like 7 hours now.
Oh wow.
If it's taking place on one day, so to prevent people from to get in there, have the show last 7 hours, and then everybody leave, they're going to be there for like 14 hours. So to prevent that, they're doing it over 2 nights, and it's limited capacity. Because even though it's in Florida, and Florida is Florida, they're being kind of smart about it.
Yeah, Florida don't care.
Nope.
But yeah, night 2 of WrestleMania, if it happens, like I said, they're supposed to have like If it was just rain, probably wouldn't be a big deal. But they're supposed to have like storms today, so we'll see. But yeah, that's tonight. So that's what I've been planning on watching. What
Cool.
about you, Christian? If you've gathered your life together now.
I think so. I think I'm back on track. Watching, we've been rewatching The Office just as a bit of a background humor to have on while we're doing our studies and work from home continuously. And then playing. I've been playing a bit of Outriders, which we'll talk about later in the show. And then the other game I've been kind of diving into is a game called Cozy Grove, which I could have sworn was coming out for the PlayStation 5, but I guess I was incorrect. So I'm playing that on the PS4 through my PS5. But it's great. It's basically, very similar to Animal Crossing, just less capitalism and more enhanced and focal point on the story. So I'm really loving it. It very hammers home, playing like an hour to two a day, and then like the main uh, NPC that you kind of interact with is like, all right, I think that's it for today. Come back tomorrow, which is great because about an hour to two a day is kind of all I'm really playing right now anyway. So
Yeah.
but it's crazy though, because like it's a great game, especially for kind of a newer indie company. Plus the game is only like $15 right now. Out on all major platforms. It's on iOS as well, I believe. And then whereas of course like Animal Crossing that came out this previous year is like a full $60 Switch title. So it's kind of interesting to play something that I would compare with a AAA mainstream title that's like a fourth the cost. So
Nice. Sounds like it's a lot of fun.
yeah, no, if you guys have never heard of it, and if Animal Crossing took up a lot of your life during quarantine and during COVID, like it did all of us this past year, I highly recommend you try it out because it is very, very addicting.
Nice.
All right, so I'm going to do another Metacritic predictions check-in. As you guys may have recall, on episode 3, we gave our predictions for what Metacritic scores the movies and video games releasing in 2021 would get. With a few of those titles having come out, we're going to touch base a little bit on where we're at. So we kind of unveiled last week with Monster Hunter Rise and Story of Seasons kind of what their final score is. So what we're doing with this is a week from release date, we're going to call and make the final judgment call on what the score got and compare our notes on what we predicted the game would get or movie would get and what it actually got. So the only thing that we actually have to touch in on this week is Godzilla versus Kong. So of course, at this point, it's well over a week. It just didn't line up that we were quite at the week mark this past episode, so we weren't able to make the official judgment call. But Godzilla versus Kong, which released on March 31st, is currently sitting at a Metacritic score of 59. Do you guys recall what you guessed?
Not 59.
54 maybe? 5?
Yeah, so Cody, you had 54, Tim, you had 69, and I had 60.
Nice.
So before this weigh-in, Tim, you had 7 points total from your previous guesses. Cody, you had 6 points, and I had 9. And then coming out of this, Tim, you received a point for being within 10 points.
I'm almost lucky I was in 10.
Yeah, I mean, you at least got a point out of it. And then Cody, you had 6 points before this, and then you had 2 from this because you were within 5. And then my guess was 60. I had 9 points total before this. Received 3 from this because I was within 3 points. Yes. Okay, I just want to make sure I had that right. And then so it brings our totals now currently. Tim and Cody, you were both tied at 8 points total, and I am at 12. So we're not really that far apart.
Yeah, you get 3 points if you're in 2.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, it's within 2 points. I don't remember.
Within 3.
Okay, fine. Yeah, sure. I feel like I know we kind of talked about this when we were doing these reviews. And I'm starting to, if Kong is anything to, may not be the best judge character. These movies are what's going to kill me. I think I'm going to be way closer with the games than I am the movies.
Mm-hmm.
Because everyone just like hates movies, man. They just hate them. They just want to hate them, and then they go online and then they hate them.
We've got friends that just love to hate on movies.
Yeah.
It's like someone's like, I actually really enjoyed this movie, and then someone's just like, sucks.
Cody speaking from personal experience, because he's usually the one's like, I really enjoyed this movie, and then everyone's like, how could you enjoy this movie?
Yeah. It's like, oh man, I actually really enjoyed The Last Jedi. Or
Oh my god. All right, move on.
people just like, oh, it sucks, worst movie ever. Yeah.
I didn't say it was the worst movie ever. That distinction goes to um oh Speed Racer. That's what I'm thinking of. That's what I'm trying to think of. That's the worst movie ever.
But yeah, so if you all want to continue following along on our website, Cody is keeping up with this and keeping everything all nice and tidy on our site for you all to keep along as all this gets released and we announce kind of where we're at on points.
Totally.
We still have most of the movie list, and we're getting a good start on our top 10 for the games. So
Cody's totally doing all that.
Totally remembering to do that.
Hey, I looked on there last night and you were up to date.
Hey, look at you, bud. Look at you.
I don't remember doing it.
You sleep editing?
Apparently. Cool. No.
By the way, when you started this podcast, you said that last episode we talked about Godzilla versus Kong and that it was live on YouTube, and I was like, somebody pirated Godzilla versus Kong already on YouTube? I was confused. That's why you heard me laugh at the beginning. I was like, I was so confused what was happening.
Oh yes, apologize. Clarification: our episode talking about Godzilla versus Kong is now live on YouTube.
Fair
I
enough.
hope Godzilla versus Kong is not live on YouTube. If
might.
it is, it probably won't be up for long.
It's not now.
It's now gone flagged in the past, 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, so our next two things that kind of come from our Metacritic predictions is Pokemon Snap, which is up next on April 30th.
Oh, snap.
Oh, snap. It's coming. And then following that is going to be Resident Evil Village on May 7th.
Oh, Phil. Yeah. I don't know. I was trying to make something out of that. Go ahead.
And then after that, I think it's really kind of there's not really a whole lot going on until like June, July, and then like everything drops, like games, movies, just everything comes out.
June, July is going to be a busy time for us.
Yeah, but plenty to talk about, so that's always good.
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys. So let's touch base with What the Falcon again. So let's dive into the latest episode of the Disney Plus show Falcon and the Winter Soldier. For our audience, full spoilers ahead if you haven't watched the show yet.
Kudos to you for saying that before we started talking about it.
I did last.
Yeah, I want to make sure I'm on.
Oh, you did actually. You did.
Yep. So this week we are talking about episode 4, The Whole World is Watching, which showed Sam having a heart-to-heart with leader of the supposed terrorist organization, the Flag Smashers. The Dora Milaje of the Wakanda show up to kick the new Cap's butt, and John Walker is now a super soldier who, within hours of taking the serum, has shown his true colors. So, guys, let's start off with probably the most important part of this episode relating to John Walker. So, of course, midway through the episode, Zemo started smashing up all the remnants of the 12, 13 vials of the serum that was remaining so that no one else could take it. And then Walker kind of came out of nowhere and bashing up beside the head with his shield. And lo and behold, there was actually a single vial still left on the ground, unscathed from Zemo's demolition. And John Walker, of course, took that and off screen, I guess, injected himself with it. Because by the end of the episode, definitely was showcasing some super soldier powers.
Oh yeah, he took it for sure. It had to have been after that conversation, him and Battlestar had at that little coffee place or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of Battlestar, unfortunately, with the events of the later part of the episode, at least, I mean, I guess never say never, but it appears that he has died in mid-fight with the Flag Smashers. So, and kind of seeing this, Walker goes like absolute nuts and crazy and chases after one of the members of the Flag Smashers, not the leader, but kind of one of the side characters, in an open courtyard in the middle of whatever city they're in I think Europe. Brutalizes this guy, maybe decapitates him, but definitely bludgeons him because by the time he...
I feel like it was implied he took that dude's head off.
So by the time John Walker actually stands back up, he's completely splattered with blood, and everyone is kind of just standing around recording them on their phones. So obviously, like the new face of America, new face Captain America, whatever you want to say, is completely ruined at this point.
So essentially, he went from Captain America to Homelander.
Yeah,
Pretty
essentially. I mean, like he always kind of had the Homelander vibe since he
Mhm.
kind of appeared at the beginning of the series anyway. So I was just kind of waiting for it to happen. I thought it was going to be more of like a slow like descent into like madness or whatever.
Well, I mean, there's only 6 episodes. This was number 4, so they don't have much time.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I guess like in my head, I always imagined him doing something like this, like, and that was going to be like the series finale was him being like
Oh,
going crazy. But like they're going right for it right now. And so I guess that I don't know. We'll see what happens in
I
these next
mean,
couple episodes.
we'll see. I mean, he could be a major player in the MCU going forward.
Yeah, I feel like they're just this. I don't because I don't know if they're gonna do a season 2. I feel like most of these Marvel shows are gonna be one-offs to set up the future movies.
Yeah.
So John Walker could legitimately just be a plot point for Sam to realize he should have taken the shield.
Well, yeah. I think he already realizes that.
Yeah.
So what's interesting in this latest episode, they also brought up a cool dialogue between some characters about how when you take the super soldier serum, 9 times out of 10, it's going to change you. Um, Maybe for the better, but most likely for the worse. And they were talking about Steve and being, of course, like the most famous Captain America at this point, and saying that like, like, well, Steve was like, 1 in a million. The odds of getting another Steve and having the serum react that well and having that good of an outcome is like almost probably impossible.
Well, yeah. I
And
mean,
at this
Steve
point,
Rogers could lift Thor's hammer, so he is 1 in a million.
right. And so at this point, rather than passing along the mantle and giving the shield to anybody else, the shield probably should just be destroyed because no one else is going to be able to assume the mantle that Steve stood for to the same full extent that Steve was able to.
Yeah.
Also, to be fair, technically, the serum didn't change Bucky. He was brainwashed and his mind was hijacked, and he just happened to have the serum put into him.
True.
Because he's the same guy, he's just dealing with, the fact that he did murder a bunch of people while he was being brainwashed, but it wasn't because of the serum.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of like a gray area with that whole explanation because, like, I think when he was injected with the serum, he had like just fallen off that. Wasn't it in Captain America when he fell off the bridge platform
Yeah,
and
he
like
fell
he
off
was
the
like barely
bridge
clinging on to
or the
life?
train. Was
Well,
it the
the train that
train?
was on a bridge, it
Yeah.
was like up on like a yeah.
Hydra saved him by giving him the serum and brainwashed him in the process.
Mhm.
So
So like I don't think they ever really necessarily gave him a chance to see like what would happen from him taking the serum because they went ahead and just did like the whole brainwash and just kind of went the whole 9 yards.
right, so that's why I'm just like going off of the way he is now. I feel like if it had fundamentally changed his personality, he wouldn't be who he is.
Yeah.
Right.
So I feel
But
like I like truly feel like if given the opportunity, there's potential that like Bucky could pick up Thor's hammer.
Maybe.
I think that like I don't think they'll do
yeah,
that moment again, but I feel like if they did, it would solidify like his redemption.
Maybe. I don't know. I
Like
mean,
he's as good
Thor's
as
hammer
gold
is
kind of thing.
Thor's hammer is technically destroyed, and he returned the hammer he
Yeah.
had with Steve.
That don't mean they're
So,
not going to make another one because apparently,
I mean, maybe with Thor S or Natalie Portman's character,
right,
whatever
I
they're
was
going
gonna
to call
say,
her.
she walked out on stage holding Mjolnir. I mean, that could have just been a
Yeah.
a gimmick or whatever. But like, she apparently is taking that mantle, so they could essentially make another one.
yeah.
Who knows?
No, it'll be interesting to see where they go with it going forward, moving into the next phase of the MCU. So in the big fight, we know where the Dormilage kind of came back into play here and came to collect Zemo from his escape from prison. Zemo kind of slipped away during that big fight. So
Why
do you
do they
guys?
want him again?
Very casually.
Mhm.
Why do they want him again?
Because he's responsible for the
Oh,
Black Panther's
T'Chaka.
father
Yeah,
T'Chaka,
dying.
yeah.
And so do you guys think that we will see him again? At
Who?
least this season, or do
Baron
you think he's
Zemo?
just gone for the rest of the season?
He showed back up in the episode, didn't he?
He means after he like bounced.
Oh,
After he escapes,
sorry.
when they're in the big fight inside the like a hotel room, whatever they're in, and he kind of makes a
my
beeline for
brain,
the exit.
I'm really off today. Yeah, he's like I shouldn't do it, but I always look at IMDb to see who the cast list is for these shows, and he's in there for 5 episodes, so he's gonna be in the next 2 episodes
Somewhere, maybe probably the finale.
Yeah, but like he's credited for 5, same as Sharon Carter.
Oh wait, well he wasn't in the first episode.
Yeah, that's what I'm
So
saying. So he's
in the
in
next
he was
2.
in 2. He'll be in 2 through 6.
I guess the more important question I was trying to get at there was, do you think that he's going to be escorted back into prison, or do you think he's going to find some way to, by the end of this series, just kind of be out in the world doing his thing?
He'll be out in the world doing his own
Out in
thing.
the world, yeah. He's one of those Marvel villains. I mean, it's like the Fast and Furious trope. Like, what's his face? Jason Statham's character, for all intents and purposes, kills one of the main characters of their little group, and then by like the 8th movie, they're just buds with him.
Yeah,
and like he's buddy with Hobbs and Shaw. Like, I mean, there's tension, but like they get along for the most part when it counts. So it's like, I know only Tim will understand this because you won't watch the show, but it's sort of like Frieza.
no, yeah.
Like, Frieza is the enemy,
Frieza,
but they also just made him part of the group.
Yeah, he's like the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Or even Piccolo for that matter.
Yeah, well, Vegeta, any Dragon Ball Z character.
Most of that team was an enemy at some point.
So I don't know if you guys have heard about this at all, but for episode 5, this next episode up on the list for Falcon and the Winter Soldier, it is been teased that there is supposed to be a big guest appearance on the episode. For a while, I guess there was speculation that Chadwick Boseman would be recurring as his character of Black Panther on the show, but it seems like the showrunners have pretty much shut that theory down. So who do you think will be the guest star?
I was gonna say, I think he died before they started filming.
Shuri?
It could be Shuri.
I mean, they could introduce her as the Black Panther in this.
Yeah, they could use this to introduce, whoever the new Black Panther is. Although it's Marvel. They can pull whatever they have a 5-year plot hole. They can do whatever they want with. But like, all the little Black Panther flowers were destroyed in Black Panther.
Yeah, I'm sure
they'll just be like, they grew back. It's crazy.
Or there was that one kind of like the Super Soldier Serum. Or Shuri took the Super Soldier Serum. I don't know.
Or like, oh, we had a secret garden we didn't tell anyone about.
Yeah. I'm sure that'll get explained in the Black Panther movie, but they could just introduce her because T'Challa showed up as the Black Panther before the Black Panther movie.
Yeah,
so
in Civil War. So
yeah.
I mean, it could literally be anything. I mean, it could be the setup for the next Black Panther, which would make sense considering those characters are in this show. Or it could be like Vision, and they could.
I hope it's not Vision.
Connect WandaVision.
Leave WandaVision where it is.
I mean,
now.
I agree, but I'm just saying, Disney
has
not been, Ralph Boner. That's all. That's really all there is to it. They can do whatever.
Could be Loki.
And they will. Could be Loki.
Yeah.
Could be Natalie
Portman. I don't know. I would put money on like
SpongeBob. Okay.
I would put money on Shuri. Either that or maybe it's just a red herring and the Chadwick Boseman will show up for his final scenes. But like I said, I think we could
something before he passed.
But I think I could was saying I think that he passed before they started filming. Falcon
Yeah,
Winter Soldier.
I don't remember the exact like filming dates versus
Well,
his
everything's
death.
all screwed up because of the pandemic,
Yeah,
but
yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's Rhodey because he was in the first episode and I think he's only credited for one. And also, like, I mean, no offense to the character, but he's not a big character.
it's gonna be RDJ. No, sorry, he's dead. In sorry, Tony Stark
RDJ is
is
not
dead.
dead.
RDJ is alive.
I mean, yeah, I don't know. Like, if it's not the introducing the new Black Panther, I hope it's something ridiculous like the cast of Guardians of the Galaxy or something. All right, like I'm just gonna throw it out there in the world.
Or
Just Thor and the Asgardians of the Galaxy.
no, I mean it would make sense for it to be like Shuri.
Yeah,
I feel
Cool.
personally.
maybe they'll bring back Michael B. Jordan and be like, yeah, he didn't actually die.
Did you see a body?
Yeah, did you see a body?
All right. Well, the last part of this episode I kind of wanted to briefly touch on was when Sam, as they found out where the leader of the Flag Smashers were, Carly Morgenthau, Sam kind of said that he wanted to go in first and, take advantage of his background dealing with soldiers with PTSD and kind of talk her down and make her realize that what she was doing is not what she is intending to do. So do you think that Sam, of course, as the episode played out, of course, John Walker got too impatient, rushed in and destroyed everything. What seemed like a situation where Sam was actually being successful and enable getting Carly to able to realize that what she was doing and was harming people and killing people and seemed to be working and talking her down off a ledge. If John Walker hadn't have rushed in, do you think that would have paid off anywhere, or do you think it still would have amounted to nothing?
I think it would have paid off to a degree. I think that like she might have stopped killing people at least temporarily, but then something would have happened. Like I think John Walker's involvement screwing it up and causing chaos, it was an inevitable thing that was going to happen no matter what. Like even if he hadn't been there, Sam probably would have talked her down. They would have had like a heart to heart about like family and loss, and then she'd have been like about to change your ways, and then John Walker shows up and just wrenching the machine, and then it all
Would have killed somebody close to
yeah,
her,
it
and
would have happened one way or another.
that one dude that she's always hanging out with or whatever.
Yeah.
What do you guys think will be the end result from this series if it is a one-off of the Flag Smashers? Do you think by the end of this that they're just going to be kind of done?
I hope not, because I would hope that wasn't one of those things where like once the leader gets taken out, like the followers, like I hope like even if they're not called the Flag Smashers, I hope there's still some sort of remnant, like because one of the things that Marvel movies is that there's never real. This is the first time since that there's been like real world repercussions for what they've been doing. So I kind of hope that even if it's not quote the Flag Smashers that like are still around, that they are still like some sort of subset that gets disbanded from that might show its head in like another series or a movie or something. Like I don't want them to go permanently away, but yeah, that's just my thought. Because like the blip was the first time, and we're now seeing like repercussions of the blip. Where like okay, like things actually happen when the Avengers do stuff. Like it doesn't like just it isn't like they just sweep it under the rug. Like after the Avengers won, they destroyed half the city, and then it was just like they rebuilt it. So like it's cool to see like there's actually consequences for their action, and that Marvel is taking this route where they're actually showing the consequences for their actions.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think they'll go away. If they do go away, they're gonna go away in like a massive like blaze of glory, and it'll be like Sam trying to actually save Carly or something, and John Walker just like murders her brutally. Something horrific like that, or they're
Yeah.
gonna kill each other or something. Like it's gonna be an epic battle.
Yeah, and so I guess that's my thing now with John Walker is that now he has this serum and he's uh gotten a taste of glory and a taste of, stardom, assuming that the new being the new Cap. There's no world I feel like where he's just gonna if they're like, "Hey, what you did, in this past episode with like brutally murdering that guy is not cool. We're taking the mantle." He's not gonna just give it up.
No.
I feel like the only way he goes away is if he dies.
Well, and this is why I hate Marvel sometimes, because they've already shown us footage of of Sam and Bucky throwing the shield around in like a Georgia ish like environment, like bouncing it off of trees and throwing it at targets and stuff. And like Sam threw it and then Bucky caught it. Like they've already shown footage of that. So at
Yeah,
some point they're gonna get that shield.
that
Yeah, but
Marvel's also done it before where they just use a bunch of fake footage too.
Yeah, but
So
nothing like that. Like
I mean, it could also just because the dude loses the shield doesn't mean he dies or goes
no, that's
away.
what I'm
He
saying.
still
Like they could I almost see it happening where like it's like a thing where like he killed the guy and then he almost like goes into shock and they take it from him, but then he like breaks out and disappears and becomes, the anti-Cap or whatever.
yeah, I guess we'll see over the next 2 episodes that we got left.
Yep.
All right, so briefly, I just kind of want to touch base on, like I said earlier, I've been playing a bit of the new game Outriders. I know neither one of you have really touched the game at all.
I watched my roommate play it a little bit earlier today.
I mean,
I really was he checking it
played the
out on the
beta.
Xbox Game Pass?
Yeah.
Cool.
I played the beta.
And Cody, from the beta, you said you weren't super impressed, right?
No, it didn't grab me at all. It felt like Destiny. Um, just another Destiny clone. So, I mean, like there were bits and pieces that reminded me of like Anthem in some ways, um, which again just reminded me of Destiny. So I don't know. Like I got some Mass Effect vibes here and there, just essentially just from like story. Like the game starts off, and I was like, "Is this Mass Effect?" But like, yeah,
It's a shame because it's from Square Enix too, and I like to
Yeah.
support Square Enix, but
this is
it looks. I
to
mean,
my
I
knowledge,
said
it's the
I
first
haven't
game
played
in a
it.
while that they've made that I didn't like.
I haven't played it, but I mean, from my watch, I wasn't like jumping to joy to download it on my Xbox Game Pass or anything.
Yeah.
That's just me. I don't know. Christian, you've played it. What do you think?
Yeah, so let me give some background on it first, and then I'll kind of give my impressions
Sure.
from diving in on the game. So, Outriders, for those of you who don't know, is a cooperative role-playing third-person video game developed by People Can Fly and published by Square Enix European subsidiary. It was released on April 1st for Microsoft Windows, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X, and Stadia. So the whole thing about this game, as you guys kind of were touching on a second ago, was that the game looks like just another reincarnation of the whole games as a service, Marvel's Avengers, Destiny type game. You've got these 3 or 4 classes that you're picking from. And then, you've got this long roadmap ahead of all this content that you're going to pay out the butt for most of the content that probably should have been there at launch. And so what was interesting about this is I thought that this game was that, and the developers have explicitly said that it's not. So, despite being an online-only game, the developers of Outriders have been quite insistent that it is not a live service game. In an interview with VG247, lead narrative designer, I am so sorry with his name pronunciation, but Simon Barchan said
Bless you.
games are really expensive, and we want players to have everything for the price at launch. Thus far, Outriders is sticking to that plan with none of the traditional hallmarks of a live service game anywhere in sight. For one thing, there is no roadmap plan to add more content to the game. a business model used by live service developers to keep a player base around for months or years after a game's launch. More importantly, Outriders has no microtransactions at all, although cosmetics and emotes can be earned in game without spending additional money. So, what's interesting here is I like this. It seems like they're providing what we've come to know of a games as a service game, but without the cost. So it's you pay the full price for the game at launch, and then what's there is there, and then like that's going to be it. They might release like a few patches later on. I mean, who knows, down the line they might release a season pass, but at least for the time being, they're not going into the launch window with the intent to get more money out of their consumers on top of that initial investment of buying the game, which I think is neat. However, one of the cool things about games as a service is that when you buy a game, if you find out that you really like it, like we all did when we first started playing Destiny, at least you know that that game's going to be around for a long time because there is a roadmap out there. And so, like with this game with Outriders, there isn't. This game, it might honestly just be what's there is there. And then once you beat the game, that's it. And if it doesn't sell well enough, there probably won't be a two.
You
So
mean
it's
like how games used to be?
right. No, so I'm talking about the genre that this game is kind of based off of, the games as a service. Like
Yeah,
when
I
you
get what you're saying. I was being sarcastic. Go ahead.
Like
you're good.
there won't be any more raids or anything added potentially.
Right. Um and so I mean, like, and like you were saying, Tim, like I mean, most games used to be just you pay the one price, you get the game, and that's it.
Yeah.
The developer will update the game if there's some glitches and there needs to be some patching, but otherwise that's the game. But I feel like that model only works in the present day on a game that isn't, or on a game that's more focused on story than it is on multiplayer. And whereas like on this game, the focal point is multiplayer and co-op, but they're still insistent on remaining at that price point, which I appreciate and I like as a consumer. I just hope that they follow through with it and make sure that the game is patched in what it should be
Yeah.
within the next few weeks. Because it sounds like that first weekend that Outriders came out, it kind of had a rough launch, and it's
Well,
still being kind of patched by the developers even as we speak.
it sounds like, like, and I'm not trying to say anything here, but if they came out and said that we don't at this time have any future or anything with this game, it sounds like they're not very confident in it themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, this game also like was not heavily marketed. It wasn't advertised very
Didn't even know this
extensively.
game existed until you brought it up like a week ago.
Yeah, so and the only reason it really like came to my attention is because I insistently check the PSN store, especially under the PS5 tab, to see what new games are popping up. And so I saw it on there for a while, and then I think I might have seen a social media ad for it. It's something that said that it was like a 3-player co-op game. And I was like, okay, cool. Yeah, it's something that like I might be interested in. And then I pursued more information. But rather than most other big AAA titles like this game, I think was at least trying to be, it's gonna put that information in front of you and make sure that everyone is aware that it's out there and that it's a thing and that it's coming out on April 1st. Whereas this game, I feel like the only way I even knew as much information about it as I did is because I found out about the game and then pursued to learn more information, which is interesting, and might be kind of in part why it didn't do as well as it did. I mean, I don't really know, like the overall statistics for how much it sold. I know at least on the Xbox side, they just kind of made off the bat a deal with Xbox to put it on the Game Pass, so that if anyone subscribing to that Game Pass service just had the game at launch to play. So I'm sure that gave them a good chunk of money to start off with, and then if they choose to do, I don't know if that'll be on there permanently now. If the game will just be on there for like a month or two, and then they'll take it off and then start charging Xbox users for the game, or what they'll do. But so Cody, when you played the beta, how much of the game did it allow you to play? Because I didn't play the beta.
You made a character, and then it started off on like a very lush, pretty planet. Everybody was basically wearing Mass Effect gear and driving Mass Effect vehicles, setting up like a camp, and then
Did you do the mission where you're like going out looking for probes?
yeah, and then everything exploded, and you get injured, and they put you into cryo sleep, and then you wake up, and it's like X amount of years in the future, and like the three people that are still alive are like old now.
Okay. So I guess it didn't give you the full prologue then for it. So and then I mean you can stop me if at any point if this sparks your memory and if this wasn't the beta. But at the very beginning of the game, it opens up with just kind of some on-screen text saying that like, hey, we messed up. Earth's kind of destroyed now. We had to colonize onto two ships. The two ships took off into space where most of the people on board the ships were in cryo sleep. At some point during the 83-year-long journey, one of the ships exploded, and then the other still existent ship finally stumbled across a planet that seemed to be inhabitable.
Yeah.
And so they sent down a pod of outriders, as they're calling it, which I guess is just kind of the forefront cowboy military people that are going to go down and make sure that the environment is actually safe to inhabit. And so they went down to
Which, by
the
the
planet's
way,
surface.
not to cut you off, is the almost exact story to Mass Effect Andromeda.
Oh, really?
Like legitimately, it is like Earth got screwed, so they sent out a bunch of colony ships, and this one went off on a different path. Finally finds a planet that's like habitable, and then they send their, I forget what they're called, but it's the equivalent of Outriders to go and check out the planet.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. But yeah, so then these outriders, get out into the on the planet from their ships or whatever, and kind of start doing some investigating. And like Cody brought up, they go out in search of these pods that I guess they had sent down to the Earth or the planet's surface to test the atmosphere, and to send data back up to like the not mothership, but the colony ship or
The
whatever that's still
mothership.
kind of up in orbit, waiting to see if it's okay for everyone else to come down. And of course, there's this one crazy scientist dude that's like, hey, everything's fine. Don't ruin my image. I'm going to say everything's cool. And then the outriders are like, I think something bad's going on here, question
Yeah.
mark. And then the scientist is like, nah, we're fine. And then he like presses a button and says, hey, everybody, come on down. And then like outriders are like freaking out saying, nope, it's not cool. It's not cool. And then by that point, there's this weird like chemical
Storm.
storm thing coming in, which I guess when you get hit by, it either kills you or enables you with crazy powers, one or the other.
Yep.
Which I kind of sets up, and then when your character hits by that storm, of course, you live, and then you get to choose one of four pathways, basically like a long range sniper, like buff support class, pyromancer,
That's the one I picked.
a trickster class where you get to like teleport across the battlefield, and then like a tank, like run and gun class. You said you picked the pyromancer class, Cody?
Mm-hmm.
That's the one I picked as well. I kind of regretted my decision afterwards, just on my own personal style. I kind of wanted to go back and pick trickster. Where I'm at currently, you can't change your class, which is kind of irritating. If you want to change, you just have to restart all over again. I don't know if that'll unlock further in the game. I'm only about somewhere around 15 hours in. So, like I said, this is just kind of like a touch base with the game, and kind of first impressions. Definitely not like a full review yet. But it's so I got the game assuming that it wasn't going to be, the perfect thing ever. I just really wanted to see. I was itching to play something new on my PlayStation 5, and since this game was for the PlayStation 5, and I was tired of playing or mainly using my PlayStation 5 to just play a bunch of PlayStation 4 games. I wanted to see, at least what it was like. I had troubles at first. I don't know if the beta was like this all, but it was extremely dark. Like I couldn't see anything that was going on. Was it like that in the beta?
No. It was
Okay.
fine in the beta. And I mean, like, it went from, like, when you get your powers, you're out in, like, an open field, and there's, like, you have to fight some things, and then, like, you get captured, and then by the time you get to, like, the populated city, it was, like, bright daylight.
Hmm. Yeah, so I don't know if it was just the like default settings that they had set up the PlayStation 5 version to go live with or what it was, but so like when I started doing the prologue, I could barely see anything. And I tried to, hit the options and bring up the like, settings menu and try to find the brightness and contrast settings to adjust it, and it just wouldn't even let me. It wouldn't even let me get to that screen until, like you were saying, until you get to the city, and then it starts like, introducing you to all the different like inventory tabs. And by that point, I did change it, and then everything was tons better. I was like, wow, I guess this whole game is just gonna be super like dark and not you're just not gonna be able to see much. Like, I guess there's not much light on this planet.
Yeah.
And then I turned the brightness settings up, and I was like, oh, okay, this is what the game's supposed to look like. So I don't know if that was just a personal problem that I just experienced, or if other users experienced that as well. But it was weird.
I don't know.
But yeah, no. So I just kind of wanted to talk about it a little bit because Outriders is really the only. I don't want to say the first big launch because it definitely wasn't a big launch. For next gen, thus far this year. Next up will probably be Resident Evil Village, I guess, be the next big launch.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then of course there's a few things coming out this summer, and then of course fall will be of course a crazy drop window.
Oh yeah.
So did this spark any interest with you guys? Like, do you think you'll pick it up at all?
I mean, it's free, so because I have Xbox Game Pass, so I might check it out.
Yeah, and I mean, like, so the game that, oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank here. What's the game that just came out on PlayStation Plus's free game of the month that I'm probably not going to play?
Oddworld.
That's the one. So like in that instance, like this game that I found out, or I guess I looked on the store, and it is a $50 game. I was questioning that the other day, and then PlayStation lumped it in with their free game of the month for PlayStation 5 users. Even though it's free, I added it to my library. I probably won't play it just because it really has no interest to me.
Not even adding it to my library. I don't even want it for free.
Jesus. All right. Well, you know how Cody feels.
Yep. Nope. Cody's brutally honest.
I'm good.
So no, yeah, if you ever do check it out on Xbox, it does have crossplay, which is really cool. They just patched that. Apparently there were some issues with it. So if you do download it on your Xbox, I'd love to play with you at some point if you do.
Sure. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I guess we'll touch base on this a little bit more later. Maybe I'll let you know on next week's episode, kind of like my final thoughts on the game. The game's story isn't supposed to be very long. I think it's only like a 20 to 30 hour storyline, and then after that, just kind of like end game usual content. I don't think I'll really stick around for that. I'll probably just play the game story and then bounce. But
I feel you.
All right, so let's move on. I want to do another round of the segment Tim started a few weeks back, some kind of playlist. So a few weeks back, we started a fun segment where we will slowly compile some of our favorite songs from our favorite games, shows, movies, and anime. And so let's revisit and add more to the list. So far, from just to give a recap, last time on Cody's playlist, from Fairy Tail, he has Dragon Force. From Advent Children, One Winged Angel, Final Fantasy 14 Shadowbringers, the main theme. And on Tim's playlist, he has Doctor Who, I Am the Doctor, Expanded, Fairy Tail, Opening 3. Is it FT?
It's FT.
Okay. And then Persona 5, I believe. And then on my personal list, I have Kingdom Hearts 2, Sanctuary, Guardians of the Galaxy, Hooked on a Feeling, and Seven Deadly Sins. Guys, what do you have for this round?
I'll start. So for my video game offering, I picked Final Fantasy 14, and I picked Weight of the World Final Fantasy 14 Prelude. Weight of the World happens in the Copied Factory. If you're not a fan of Square Enix or don't know some of their other titles, they came up with a game called Nier. I've heard it pronounced different ways, but I'm going to pronounce it Automata. That's just how I've heard different ways. Anyway, Nier came out. It's also by Square Enix. Apparently it's a very popular game. I haven't really played it myself, although I do own it. Which is, I'll talk about that later. There's a song called Weight of the World that's actually like a little bit more of a slower, sad song. This is not that. It's a very fast-paced kind of song. It takes place during the final boss fight in the Copied Factory, which is the first part of the raid that they introduced as a crossover between Nier and Final Fantasy 14.
Okay, very cool.
Yeah. Moving forward, for my TV show / movie, I'm a big fan of Daft Punk, so I found a way to put them in there because they essentially did the whole soundtrack to Tron Legacy. And even though Tron Legacy, you can have your opinions about it, I kind of like Tron Legacy.
It's a great movie.
but I have Tron Legacy in parentheses end titles because I wanted to be specifically put that it's the song that plays during the end credit theme. And then for anime, I waited to make sure you guys weren't going to pick this before I picked it. But I went with the Pokemon theme song.
Yep, it was inevitable. One of us was going to get it.
And I guess this is me finally throwing in the towel on the cartoon versus anime thing because I just went under anime and said Pokemon was anime. So there you go, Cody, off my back. But speaking of you, Cody, and being on my back and now off of it, what did you pick?
I don't know what you're talking about. I snuck Final Fantasy VII back in here through that loophole.
Of course you did.
With Final Fantasy VII Remake, the song is called "Those Who Fight." It is the battle music in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely love the song. For my, I guess I don't know. I lumped it in with the TV show movies.
I would consider it a TV show.
It's it's a Twitch show, but whatever.
Yeah.
Critical Role, and I picked the Mighty Nine animated intro. The song is called "Your Turn to Roll."
Okay, I have a question about this.
Mm-hmm.
What is Sam saying in the background?
Critical.
Okay. Is that what he's saying?
It's either critical or roll because him and
okay. Well, he says both, I think.
Yeah.
But here's the thing that upsets me. It starts with roll.
Yeah.
But the show's Critical Role.
Yeah, it's because the song is Your Turn to Roll.
I guess it's just it irritates me. I don't know. Moving forward, I like the song. It's shit's called Critical Role, and they start with roll, and then they say critical. I'm like,
yeah,
whatever.
So for those who don't know,
it's my ADHD or OCD or one of those acronyms kicking in.
You're good. For those that don't know, does this play at the beginning of each episode?
After a certain point in their second campaign, it does.
Okay.
It's like halfway.
Yeah, you got to be in like deep. It is, however, going to be their intro to their animated series that's supposed to come out sometime.
Yeah. That's how they announced it. Like they were going to use it. Like they had a special animation done for their second campaign, even though the show is based on their first campaign. But that the song will probably be used as the show song. But it's really catchy. It's really good.
Sung by Ashley Johnson.
Yeah, I mean, technically it's sung by Ashley Johnson, Marisha Ray, Laura Bailey.
I'm bringing up Ashley Johnson for a reason, but it'll pay off here in a second.
Yeah. Yeah, the women of this show they do basically all the lyrical vocals in the song, and then Sam and Travis are in the background just going critical roll, like that's their contribution, but it works. Anyway, so moving on to anime, I went with the first opening to Attack on Titan, the one that got everybody hyped.
That Attack on Titan, it comes in so hard. That doesn't sound right, but
it's my favorite for sure.
Yeah,
it doesn't even have a build. It just kind of starts off.
It's just bam. And
I was going to start singing it. But I didn't. I wanted to, but I didn't. I'm not getting hit with a copyright claim for that.
Not only that, but bravo to you if you can just belt out some Japanese rock music.
It is German.
Oh, you're right. That one is German.
The first opening line is German, and I took German in high school.
It makes sense though, because I mean, most of the characters are German names. I think the author.
Jaeger is Hunter in German.
Mm-hmm. The author and creator of Attack on Titan was heavily inspired by German culture.
Yeah.
Well, as Tim was saying, because Ashley Johnson being a prominent member of Critical Role and singing that one song kind of leads us straight into yours, Christian.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, as the voice. Yeah, so I'm gonna start off with my my video game pick, which was Last of Us Part 2. Take on Me, originally sung, of course, by Aha, and sung in the scene by the in-game character Ellie, but of course voiced by, like you were saying, her name was
Ashley Johnson.
Ashley Johnson. There we go. Good. Already forgot. But yeah, so it's the scene where they're in the remnants of Seattle and the broken down guitar music shop. And so what's interesting about this is when they go, the cutscene is triggered, but when you go off to the side and you pick up this guitar, that's not actually like important or a necessary part of the storyline. So you could totally just miss it. But then it triggers this really cool cutscene where she sings the song like an acoustic version. And so I just thought it was really cool because I was not expecting it at all.
There's a lot
Tim, you
of
were saying,
really deep moments in that game.
Yeah. No, I was just saying, like, I've not played the game, but the scene's really cool. I have seen a scene acted out, so it's really cool, and it is completely and totally missable.
Yeah. And then to finish off my list, so my category of TV show / movie, I wanted to go ahead and throw in the opening of Friends, probably my all-time favorite sitcom. I'll Be There For You, the opening song. I can't tell you how many times I've turned Friends on in the background when I've been stressed out. But I think now that's kind of translated just turning any sitcom on, because I think that's just like my go-to thing to like kind of mellow out.
I would agree. I do the same thing.
And then I'll finish up with anime. My pick is going to be from My Hero Academia. I'll go ahead and chop that one off of my list. I'm going to go with opening 2 called Peace Sign. So that's probably my personal favorite. There's a lot of My Hero's openings I really like. But I think that one's probably my favorite.
Is that the first one?
It's the second one.
Okay.
And just as a note, if you're listening to this, by the time this airs, those should be on the website with an accompanying music video, if I can find it, linked onto that segments page.
Cool. There you go. And with that, I want to kind of continue this momentum. I want to do a new segment. I was going to originally do just like favorite battle fight sequences, but I kind of got talked into broadening in that a little bit, so to encompass more of what we love about entertainment, and is just calling this favorite moments in entertainment. So this is just going to be, like I said.
Yeah, not the music.
This is going to be some of our favorite categories. Just like in the podcast segment, it's going to be video game, TV show / movie, and anime. If Cody, on his turn to host, would like to throw in favorite concert moments, he is more than capable of doing that. So
Christian gave me a polite, we're going to put that one on the fridge, champ, when I brought that up. So we're not going to do that.
Hey, at least he didn't say like what yours was, and he was like, "Yo, we're not going to have to worry about that."
Yeah. for reference, we make sure like
that we don't have any crossover picks.
Crossover and like pick the same thing. And Tim mentioned one of his, and Christian was like, "Oh yeah, we don't got to worry about that. Ain't nobody gonna pick that."
To be fair, I was asking. We didn't want to give the exact podcast, songs away to each other until we started recording the show. So I asked what TV show or movie, just in general, Tim had picked, and he said Doctor Who. And so on a personal level, I don't watch the show, so my instant reaction was like, okay, cool, I don't have to worry about that. But I think it came across as more of a no one cares, and that's not what I meant it to be like. So I'm sorry.
I know you did. It's all right, man. It was just funny the way it came out.
Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead with your picks, Christian. You go first.
So anyway, on this segment, it's gonna be very similar to the one we just did, but it's gonna be favorite, like, on-screen moments in entertainment. This can be a fight scene, banter between characters, or just a special moment. And so, I mean, yeah, I guess I can start us off. So it just so happens that all 3 of mine are just fight scenes, but that's just kind of the theme I chose to go with. I'll start off with video games. So I chose God of War. The final battle in that game, Kratos versus Boulder, I thought was an insanely amazing fight. It was fun to play. It had a great cinematic, between segments of the fight. And I thought it was one of the most memorable fights in games. And hate to admit it, I was not an over the top God of War fan before this like reinvention of the wheel, if you want to call it that, with the latest
Well,
God
it
of War
was nice
iteration.
being part of this podcast. No, I was kidding.
Well, and so the thing is it's not like I played one and then was like, I don't like this. I think I played God of War 3 for like as my first experience, and I was like, that's cool. I really want to know how this series started though, and then I just never went back and actually started from the beginning and actually went through the series. But you guys have both played all of them, right?
Oh yeah,
Except for Chains of Olympus.
Ascension.
I played Ascension.
Was that the one that was on the Vita?
No, Chains of Olympus was on the Vita.
Ascension was one of those games where
Ascension, it bugged out and Cody couldn't get past it, much like me and
the
Cyber 7.
The developers were like, "You're not unfortunately, you won't be able to make it past this unless you play the game on the hardest difficulty because it's bugged, and we won't be able to patch it for like 3 months." And I was like, "Guess who's not waiting?" And I sold the game.
Well, there you go.
To be fair, Ascension's kind of a weak entry into the series, so you didn't really miss much.
Yeah. And so up next on my list is for TV show / movie is I'm a huge fan of Quentin Tarantino. I think he's probably one of the best directors in my personal opinion. So pretty much any film he's ever created, I'm a huge fan of. So for this, I'm gonna go with Kill Bill. The in-game characters, of course, Black Mamba versus Cottonmouth. It's kind of the finale fight of the original Kill Bill movie. Have you guys seen it?
Oh yeah,
I've seen Kill Bill once.
I've seen them all.
Yeah. So when she finally she arrives in Japan, gets her like awesome sword made, and then goes and essentially like one on 100 fights I guess what's supposed to be the like the remnants of the Yakuza. It's absolutely amazing battle, but like I think the icing on the cake for me was when they're like in the snowy like backyard courtyard area, and then she like essentially scalps Cottonmouth.
Yeah,
I thought it was just absolutely amazing, extremely well done, extremely well shot. So yeah, that's my pick for that one. And then in anime, probably I was talking about this last night with Ashley, with our favorite fights just in general for anime, and it was a really tough call. I knew I wanted to pick Naruto Shippuden, but I didn't know which fight, and I was struggling between like 3 different choices. But I finally settled on Naruto versus Pain. And so this fight, I honestly think, is probably the best anime fight I've ever seen. Now, I'm sure you guys are going to combat that with a whole bunch of Dragon Ball stuff, but I'm just going to say it's really great.
I've watched Naruto versus Pain. It's a great fight.
It's great. It's great. No, I know. I wasn't saying that you didn't watch it. I was just saying that I felt like you guys were going to be like, well, let me tell you about Dragon Ball. And I'm going to be like, oh.
My pick isn't a Dragon Ball pick.
Oh, hey, there you go.
Oh, yeah.
Tim, you want to go next?
Mine is.
Sure. So for video game moment, I'm going to go with The Force Unleashed. When you pull down that Star Destroyer from the atmosphere.
It's a dope moment.
That I remember being like, oh man, I'm moving it. Like, oh man, I'm pulling it towards the surface. Like, oh man, I'm gonna crash this thing. And then you run up into it and you do a bunch of other stuff. But like that moment was so cool.
Yeah.
It wasn't necessarily like a fight scene. It was just a moment where I was like, this is super cool. Because before then, like, with the original trilogy and then the prequel trilogy, you didn't really see the Force used like that before. Like there weren't Jedis pulling Star Destroyers out of the sky or even anything out of the sky, really. It was just used to like, look, I could grab my lightsaber from really far away.
Yeah.
So this was the first time I was like, yes, this is what I wanted the Force to be. And it was a really cool moment. So there's that.
So with that main character from that series, first of all, just to add, I absolutely love
Star Killer.
Is that the name of it?
Yeah, his name's Star Killer.
I could not remember that for the life of me.
It's so weird that I've had Star Killer in
Yeah.
my gamer tag for years, and you
So
I remember that.
Okay. I knew it was a Star Wars reference, but I thought it was a reference to Star Killer Base.
That's fair.
No, he gets a name, I think. I don't remember what it is, but his code name is Star Killer.
Yeah.
Okay.
So for TV show, not that it matters, so we don't have to worry about it.
Gosh.
But mine's from Doctor Who. It is the penultimate episode to the series 5 finale, of when the Doctor does his Pandorica speech in the ruins of, not the ruins, in Stonehenge. He does this big,
cool.
long, elaborate speech in front of all these ships and whatnot. It's very passionate and bold, and it really kind of cemented Matt Smith as the Doctor for me during this run. You should YouTube it. Even if you never watched Doctor Who, it's worth it. It's worth a view.
Yeah.
Who's the audience when he's doing the speech?
Aliens.
Oh, okay.
A bunch of them. They're all on their ships, and he's on like a speakerphone. And to put in perspective for you, like David Tennant's Doctor was, kind of, assertive. Christopher Eccleston's Doctor really wasn't. This was the first time the Doctor was like, "F you, I'm the Doctor. Try to stop me."
Yeah.
That's really
and
cool.
he really like threw down the gauntlet in this speech, and it's really good. And then for my anime, I was stuck between two, and I was going with the fairy tale one. I was stuck between two. It was either going to be Natsu versus Gajeel,
Very good,
or the one I'm actually going to go with, which was Natsu and supposed to be Gajeel, but ended up not being Gajeel. It was just Natsu versus the Twin Dragon Slayers.
What a match!
Yeah.
You talking about during the Grand Magic Games?
Yeah. They're in that like hole in the ground, and they're trying to attack with all that stuff, and then Natsu just like blows them all up, and then just walks out and like a boss.
Honestly, I think one of my favorite moments from Fairy Tale, also at the Grand Magic Games, but a couple of years later after this, is I can't remember which season it's in, but it's after Fairy Tale is disbanded, and then Lucy is like one of the broadcaster announcers or whatever for the show, and then they're like, "Who's this guy walking in and like is like radiating so much heat that he's just like melting everybody's clothes off of them?" And it's Natsu after like years of training.
Yeah,
that was great.
I've actually seen that scene, so it's really good. Anyway, but those are my picks. So Cody.
All right. So for video game, I went with a Star Wars pick. I went with Jedi Fallen Order. And the moment where Vader shows up, you hear his breathing, and I got goosebumps.
That was pretty great.
And then like you actually fight Vader, and I was like, this has to be a losable fight. Like there's no way you can win this. And yeah, that was.
So in that fight, you end up just kind of running away, right?
Yeah, like you fight him, and then, yeah, you essentially you just have to bolt.
Like, yep, not gonna do that.
Yeah. And he chases you through this underwater facility, which is nuts. So yeah, I love that. For my TV movie, I picked Ready Player One, which is like my second all-time favorite movie. Which, by the way, the book is like top 5 of my favorite books, but they are vastly different from each other. But the moment in the movie is when Daito turns into a Gundam. When he jumps out of Serenity from Fairy Tale.
Yeah. Firefly.
Thank you. He jumps out of Serenity and then just turns into a Gundam to fight Mechagodzilla. I was like, there's nothing wrong about what this is. Everything went right here, and well done. And I want a Gundam movie so bad. But yeah, that's definitely my favorite movie moment that I could think of off the top of my head. Which doesn't happen in the book. Spoilers if you haven't read the book. That character doesn't even make it to that point in the story.
Oh, okay.
Like it's a vastly different story. For anime, I also went with a fight. I haven't watched Naruto, I'm sure it's a great fight. But Goku versus Kefla is by far my favorite anime fight. Like it was close to.
That's the one where she takes the Kamehameha to the face, right?
Yeah, with
Yeah.
the triple shot.
Yeah.
They do the classic like well, basically he's jumping from literal debris flying through the air because he can't fly in this moment, and he's charging up an attack, and he jumps, and she's like, okay, sweet, he's in midair, he can't dodge me, so she fires a massive blast at him, and then he literally like Tony Hawk grinds up her attack using his attack, and then just punches her in the face with his, and it just.
By the way, they're doing the stereotypical like.
Yeah. No, he's like building it up the whole time.
And then as he like just punches her in the face with this move, I'm talking like it's getting like point blank shot in the face with a shotgun. He goes like, and they repeat that scene like 5 times in a row.
Yeah,
like they want you to
angles.
see it from every angle that he obliterates this person.
He just gets punched through like
reality,
like 10 feet of solid concrete and reality. Yeah, it was nuts. So good. I highly recommend everybody watch Dragon Ball. Christian.
Also watch Critical Role.
But
Also, Ark is terrible.
Also, yeah, Ark is the worst game ever made.
Never played Ark. Doesn't matter to me. So if you're trying to hurt me, you didn't.
No, I was just making fun of Cody because
Oddworld is a maybe tied for worst game ever made. Oh.
Well, I think that's gonna. This kind of threw me off here. I guess this is right. So
maybe we'll be back next week. We don't know.
No, sorry. I'm referencing my my little document here to make sure I don't forget anything. And something was changed, and I didn't know it was changed, and it threw me off. Anyway,
I changed something.
You did. Next time on some kind of podcast, Tim will once again be your host, and we're going to talk about backlog games. Is that right, Tim?
Yeah, so I'm going to talk about, I don't know what you guys are going to talk about. That's what I'm talking about.
I'm going to talk about lasagna because that's what I'm about to have for dinner once we wrap this up. So I
think I'm going to have chicken. Yeah.
I'm going to have...
We just got so far. It takes nothing, everyone.
How many pizzas are you going to eat tonight, Christian?
Hey,
you gonna stick
if I've got a blender, then
yeah, there you go.
It's unlimited.
You can have unlimited pizzas as long as you have a blender.
Yep.
Welcome to Some Kind of Podcast.
Welcome to Some Kind of Podcast and Christian's TED Talk about pizza.
Yeah.
You can make anything. You can juice anything. I learned that from Matt.
All right, we got super far off topic on that one, Christian.
Anyway, yeah, we're talking about backlog games next week.
Take it back.
I am.
If we're gonna talk about backlog games, what is everyone's game? No.
This is for next week. You've
going?
had your time.
You're done.
You're done,
You're
son.
Not gonna try and
do the outro.
Yeah, what are
do
you
the
doing?
outro.
I just want to know what I need to play while I drink my blended pizza. So
you need to
probably Outriders.
We're talking about backlog games. That means stuff you haven't played.
Like Monster Hunter, which you got and played like 3 hours and stopped touching.
Like Nier that I mentioned earlier that I said I bought and haven't played.
Now, did you guys know that if you put a bunch of pizza rolls into a blender, it tastes the exact same?
Do the outro. Do the outro.
Still on this.
This is going to wrap up this week's episode of Some Kind of Podcast. Please make sure you like, share, and subscribe, and leave a comment below. If you would like to reach out to us, you can find us on Facebook and Twitter at SKO Entertainers, and visit our website, www.skoentertainment.net, for more information. Also, check out our Twitch channel, Some Kind of Entertainment, where we play games occasionally. And finally, don't forget to join us next week, because even on the best of days, we all need some kind of entertainment. Thanks for listening, everyone. Sorry, that was a bit of a rant. And props to you if you stuck with us.
Bye.
Look forward to Christian's cooking video on pizza rolls in the blender. All right, thanks, guys.